Most eyes were still on his sword when he finished speaking. The golden glow from the runes extended in a dull reflection on the ceiling and nearby faces. The hawk returned to clean his cleaning cloth and closed the bag. He looked around at the crowd that followed his every movement. A few of the youth were off to sleep already. Those who were still awake yelled and clamored for more until all of them were up and ready for another story. It took one finger from Miss Lenore as she pointed at them all to bring them to quiet. Smiling some more, the hawk whispered a tale that drew their heads in closer. Their eyes were silver balls that reflected light at odd angles. Each eye moved separately, like they had a life of their own. The four wings, two larger in the center and two on the tail, moved slowly as they flew across the sky, leaving a person to wonder how they kept their gray, cumbersome, bulky bodies in the air. Their odor was bad enough when they were aloft. If one was brought down or it got hungry enough to eat livestock, the farm would smell the worst. You see, the creature would nearly land in the act, and the smell would stay. The barns had to be burned, animals slaughtered, but they usually never attacked the land or its people. These beasts were called Naqualiere, and they dated back to past the earliest records. The closest beast we have now would have to be the Ualomn. Some of the children nodded, the rest looked around having never seen an Ualomn, but all were listening again, wanting to hear the rest of the story. Worlds live within worlds, the hawk continued, soaking up the silence as he went. The insects live in a world within one of frogs, shlet, and guinea. They live in a world within that of larger animals. Those larger animals are prey to even bigger ones. The cycle continues until space fills the void. We are all in that one world. The universe is a larger place. Have you ever watched the stars at night? Have you ever noticed something change and wonder if it really moved? The hawk looked from face to face as he asked the questions. Most of them shook their heads. Some just looked at the windows at the still night. There were no clouds in the sky, and Che and Ennui shone down from above them. All the talking and music had died down outside, and all people could hear were people padding around at a random metallic clang. The hawk bit his lips slightly and opened his lips as if to speak, but he held his words another moment before continuing on. I've been told, and I believe, that constellations, the star shapes in the sky, move after the suns meet, just after the time of the Lucian suns. When the constellations meet at these exact points, they make a whole. The heavens open up to allow a power to come through and enchant the very stars to life. At one time, games were played above this weary world. Maybe they still happen from time to time. There are some colonies of monks who make their homes in the tops of trees. They observe the little ones that come and seek advice of the game, and they observe the sky that opens up to them. Their records tell of the games played back then. The games took place every 3 solti, every 24 days. No one knew why at the time, but the Naqualiere would disappear before and after the Lucian suns. But according to the records, the Naqualiere didn't completely disappear. They collected to fly about the Ualomn plains. It's an old place few people have ever seen, and I myself have only seen it from a distance. It's large and sunken in and sits at a point where 4 mountains come together. There, the mountains act like columns and define the boundaries. At those times, after the Naqualiere had arrived, something almost imaginable began. Imagine the skies lighting on fire. The clouds glowed fire red with black outlines, and fireballs flew from those clouds. They crashed down on the fields and with bits of debris and flame flying everywhere along the ground. The sounds must have been painful to the ear. It would have been quite a sight to see those huge rocks from space burst from the darkness. Most missed the Naqualiere, but some of the beasts fell. It was a target game. The squared plains were the board, the flaming rocks, the darts. The plains are still marked with the spots where the stars fell today. I saw that much myself. The games were a long time ago, when the gods and goddesses visited our world. There are no more Naqualiere today, and those games seem to have stopped. But the fact that it could have happened then makes you wonder. Quite often, like the Naqualiere and the constellations, there's more going on in this world than you think. If you watch the skies when they're clear, on the eve of 3 solti just past, you may see the stars open up. No one knows what happens then, so you never know what to expect.